Lakers fans, I need you to look at one specific number before I tell you what just happened, because this number is the entire reason today's news makes sense. 15.3, that is the net rating differential. 15.3 points per 100 possessions that the San Antonio Spurs posted with Dylan Harper sharing the floor with Victor Wembanyama during their finals run compared to when Deaaron shared that same floor. 15.3. That specific statistic has been quietly circulating in front office circles for weeks, even while Brian Wright, the Spurs general manager, has stood in front of cameras and publicly, repeatedly affirmed his complete faith in Fox as a foundational piece of San Antonio's future. Public commitment, private numbers telling a completely different story. And at 1:06 this afternoon, on a live SportsCenter cut-in that interrupted a Summer League recap segment mid-sentence, Shams Charania walked onto the desk and told the entire basketball world that the gap between what Brian Wright says publicly and what the Spurs actually believe internally had finally closed. In the most dramatic way possible, De'Aaron Fox has been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. Before you scroll off, I'm telling you right now, by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you the specific internal Spurs document Shams referenced that reportedly triggered this entire chain of events. I'm also going to tell you what Wembanyama himself posted from his personal account 19 minutes later. A cryptic single-line message in French that ESPN's own translators had to work overtime to properly contextualize. Stay with me, do not click off. Here's how it went down. Reese Davis is anchoring the SportsCenter cut-in mid-sentence about Summer League standouts when the control room clearly interrupts with real urgency. He stops, says, "We have to go to Shams right now. This is significant." And they cut. Shams delivers, and this is the direct transcript. I want to walk through exactly how this came together, because on the surface, it contradicts everything Brian Wright has said publicly for the last month. My understanding is that internally, San Antonio's analytics department has been tracking the exact lineup data comparing Harper Wembanyama minutes versus Fox Wembanyama minutes since the finals ended, and that data, a 15.3 net rating swing in Harper's favor, became the central document driving a very different internal conversation than the public one Wright was having with reporters. Once Jaden Quaintance's extended injury absence created a genuine hole at power forward, and once Rob Pelinka called with a specific offer built around exactly that need, San Antonio moved. This is a done deal. It is finalized, pending physicals, and it uses the Wembanyama extension's built-in cost savings as the mechanism that made the money work on San Antonio's side. Read that back. The Wembanyama extension's built-in cost savings as the mechanism. That is an extremely specific financial detail, tying Wembanyama's own reported pay cut decision directly to the exact mechanism that enabled this trade, a level of cap sheet precision that only comes from someone who has actually seen how the numbers were built. And 19 minutes later, as I promised, Victor Wembanyama posted from his personal account in French, and I am giving you both the original text and ESPN's own translation because the ambiguity mattered enough that the network dedicated airtime to it. The post read, "Le jeu change, mais l'objectif reste le même." Translated, the game changes, but the objective stays the same. Read that back. That is not a farewell message with warmth attached. That is not a good luck post. That is a specifically neutral, almost clinical statement from the single most important player in that organization. A young superstar choosing his words with obvious, deliberate care, refusing to editorialize on a teammate's departure while simultaneously confirming, through the very act of posting at all, that the situation is real and significant enough to require a public statement. ESPN's Argentina and France desks both flagged the specific phrasing within minutes as intentionally measured, the kind of statement an athlete makes when he has been briefed on a decision he did not personally drive but understands completely. Now, the whiplash, because I already know your brain is doing exactly what mine did the first time I read this. Wait, Brian Wright said publicly multiple times that the Spurs have complete faith in Fox. That was the story for a full month after the finals. How does that square with a trade happening today? And here's the honest answer, and it requires understanding something that happens constantly in professional sports but rarely gets reported this cleanly. Public statements from a general manager are frequently, deliberately a full step behind the actual internal conversation, specifically to protect trade value. If Brian Wright had gone on television and said, "We are shopping De'Aaron Fox," every single team in the league would have known San Antonio was selling, and the return package would have collapsed instantly. Instead, Wright maintained public confidence in Fox for exactly as long as it took to quietly work the actual trade market, using precisely the leverage that public confidence created. That is not dishonesty. That is standard front office operating procedure, and it worked exactly as designed, right up until Shams got the real story. Stay with me. Because once you understand exactly why the Lakers specifically were the team San Antonio called, this stops looking like a contradiction and starts looking like the cleanest, most obvious outcome in basketball. 3 reasons Shams was this confident. Reason 3 is where the reveal lands. Reason number 1. The Lakers, since LeBron's departure to Philadelphia, have been searching all summer for exactly one specific thing: a genuine second ball handler who can operate independently of Luka Doncic and take real creation burden off him across an 82-game season and a deep playoff run. Every single alternative pursuit this summer either fell through or addressed a different need. De'Aaron Fox, even coming off a rough final stretch that was largely tied to a documented ankle injury, remains a legitimate 2-time All-Star point guard who can bring the ball up, initiate offense, and get his own shot at an elite level when healthy. That is specifically, the exact archetype this roster has been missing since the day Luka arrived. And it is the exact archetype that was simply not available anywhere else on the trade or free agent market this summer. Reason number 2, and this is the specific tactical detail that has JJ Redick's coaching staff reportedly thrilled. Fox's transition speed, genuinely among the fastest guards in the league with the ball in his hands, is the single element this roster has lacked most acutely under a Luka-centric offense. Luka's game is deliberate, methodical, and physically taxing across a full season. Adding a guard who can push pace, generate easy transition buckets, and take pressure off Luka's half-court creation burden gives Redick an entirely different offensive gear this roster simply did not have access to before. That specific complementary fit, not redundancy, complementary skill, is exactly why Pelinka moved the moment San Antonio's real internal numbers became known to him. And before I get to reason 3, because reason 3 is the internal document Shams referenced, talk to me in the comments. Lakers fans, real question: does the 15.3 net rating gap between Harper and Fox worry you about what you're actually getting? Or do you believe the ankle injury genuinely explains the disparity? I think the fan base is going to be split on how much to trust that specific number, and I want to read the argument. Go. Reason number 3, the document. Ready? San Antonio's analytics department has been tracking the exact lineup data since the finals ended. Read that back. This is not a rumor about vibes or locker room chemistry. This is a report about a specific internal data-driven document that the Spurs' own front office produced and circulated, the 15.3 net rating swing. And that document, according to Shams, became the actual driver of the internal conversation that led to this trade, regardless of what Brian Wright said publicly. When an insider describes not just the existence of internal data, but the specific number contained within it, and that number matches independently reported lineup statistics that were already circulating in analytics circles before this trade broke, that is not speculation. That is confirmation that the reporter has access to the same internal materials the front office itself was using to make the decision. Stop. Rewind. The number matching independently verifiable lineup data is the tells. It means this was not built on a hunch. It was built on math the Spurs' own analytics staff produced, and Shams got hold of exactly that math. Now, the skeptic, Stephen A. Smith, predictably erupted. Brian Wright looked us in the eye and said this man was part of their future. And now, weeks later, you're telling me it was all a smokescreen, and the Lakers are giving up real assets for a guy who shot 34% in the finals, who is getting outplayed by a 20-year-old rookie in his own locker room. You're paying $51 million a year for a guy his own team just proved, with their own data, is a downgrade from a rookie? And listen, Stephen A. His core objection is legitimate. If San Antonio's own numbers show Harper outperforming Fox in shared minutes with Wembanyama, that is a real red flag any acquiring team has to seriously grapple with, not dismiss. But here's the counter. Net rating in a small injury-affected playoff sample is an extremely noisy statistic, heavily influenced by a documented high ankle sprain that limited Fox's explosiveness for the entirety of that specific stretch. Before that injury, across the full regular season, Fox posted efficient all-star caliber numbers next to a healthy Wembanyama. The Lakers are not betting on Finals Fox, they are betting on healthy regular season Fox with a full offseason of recovery behind him. Stephen A is treating a small injury-skewed sample as the whole truth. Pelinka is treating it as exactly what it is, a specific, temporary, medically explainable dip, not a permanent decline. Here's the part of this story that carries real irony. Deaaron Fox was traded to San Antonio in February of 2025, specifically to be the primary co-star next to a still developing Wembanyama. Now, roughly 18 months later, the exact same organization that made that bet is moving on, having decided a 20-year-old rookie fits the timeline better. And Fox is walking directly into another situation where he is meant to be the second star next to a completely different generational offensive talent, Luka Doncic instead of Victor Wembanyama. Same role, different genius. Try to find a stranger repeat of career circumstance than that. It's rare, but I owe you the honest risk. If the 15.3 net rating gap genuinely reflects something more permanent than an ankle injury, if Fox's specific style of play simply does not maximize a dominant, ball-dominant big man the way a more selfless connector like Harper does, then the Lakers may be importing the exact same fit problem that just got San Antonio to trade him. That risk is real, and it does not fully disappear just because the injury explanation is plausible. So let me bring it home. De'Aaron Fox to the Lakers matters because he is the specific second ball handler this roster has needed all summer, because his transition speed complements rather than duplicates Luka's half-court game, and because Shams tying this report to San Antonio's own internal 15.3 net rating document is the kind of verifiable, data-specific detail insiders don't invent. Wembanyama's carefully worded, deliberately measured public reaction is the receipt that something real just happened inside that locker room. Now here's what I'm watching next, and this is the next video, so hit subscribe. If Fox lands in Los Angeles, the very next question is exactly what package San Antonio actually received in return, and whether it directly addresses the power forward hole created by Quaintance's injury. I've got a read on it that will surprise you. For now, comments, likes, subscribe, Lakers fans. The number told the real story. Wild summer.